instructions. Now these are the shift instructions that we have for which is supported by 8086 microprocessor. SAL, which is nothing but shift left or shift left arithmetic, and SHL is shift left. Now both performs the same. Why? Because here shift left will be shifting towards left, and the same thing is performed by this shift arithmetic left. Okay. Now here the syntax is shift left destination comma count. Now if you want to shift this destination operand by 1 or by 1 time, then you have to specify this with a immediate value. Okay, if you want to shift this destination operand more than 1 time, then you have to specify the count register. So initially we have to initialize the count register with some value or with the specific shift value, and that should be specified here. Okay, now in the same way, shift right destination comma count. If it is 1 time shift right, then you have to go with the immediate value. If it is that means if you want to shift this destination operand by more than 1 time, then you have to specify the count register, that is CL register, and it should be stored with the specific count that you want to shift this destination operand. Okay, and in the same way, shift arithmetic right, syntax is same, SAR D comma count. Now here the allowed operands destination is register and the count should be 1. If destination is register, and if you want to shift this destination more than 1 time, then you have to use CL. Okay, and if the destination is memory and you want to use or you want to move the content inside this memory by 1 time, then the count should be an immediate value 1. Okay, if you want to move the content inside this memory by more than 1 time, then you have to go with CL register. Okay, so this is how the operation goes on. Shift left, where the data is appended towards the right side and data is shifted towards left. Okay, and the data which is shifted or the bit which is shifted from the MSB will be copied into the carry flag or will be moved on to the carry flag. Okay, shift arithmetic right, again it performs similar operation to shift left. Okay, shift right. Now what happens here is the content inside this register or memory location will be shifted towards right side, and the LSB will be moved into carry flag, and the vacated positions on the MSB side will be appended or will be filled up with zeros. Okay, and shift arithmetic right, where the MSB is preserved initially. Okay, and from there it carries out the shift right operation. Okay, now as you can see here, shift left instruction performs a logical left shift. Okay, so performing a logical left shift, and this MSB will be moved on to the carry flag. Okay, and what would be the allowed operands? So register and immediate, as we have seen. So memory and immediate, register and CL, and memory and some count value. Okay, let us see an example here. So shift left AX comma 1. So you are shifting the content inside AX by 1 time, and then you are copying that AX content into BX, and then you are initializing this CL with 2, and again you are shifting this AX by 2 times. Okay, and you are adding AX with BX. Now what happens here, whenever you shift something by left side? Okay, so shift left n bits multiplies the operand by 2 power n. Okay, so if you are shifting one operand by 3 bits, so the operand will be multiplied by 2 power 3, which is nothing but 8. Now you have shift right instruction. It performs the shift right operation, where the LSB gets copied into, or LSB will be moved into the carry flag. Now shift right n bits divides the operand by 2 power n. Okay, so here left shift will does the multiplication operation, but whereas right shift will be doing the division operation. Now shift arithmetic right. Now as we know that it preserves the MSB and then carries out the shift right operation, where the LSB will be moved into carry flag. As you can see one of the example here. So we are performing SAR on DL. Okay, and we have got minus 40, and if you are performing it by 2 times, then we get minus 10. Now these are the rotate instructions: rotate left, rotate right, rotate left through carry, and then rotate right through carry. Okay, what do you mean by rotate? So rotate here is nothing but if it is a rotate left. Okay, now whatever the content that is moved out of the MSB, okay, shift operation takes place up to MSB, and the MSB will be copied into LSB as well as the carry flag in case of this rotate left operation. Okay, and the syntax is similar to the shift operation. So rotate right, again it is similar to the shift, but what happens here is the LSB will be copied into CF or will be moved into CF, and the same CF or same LSB will be copied into the MSB. Okay, now rotate left through carry. Let us see this with the picture. Okay, so rotate left instruction, as you can see that this MSB is moved on to the carry flag, and then the same MSB will be copied into the LSB. Okay, and if you go for rotate right instruction, it performs shift operation up to this MSB or up to this LSB, and this LSB will be moved into this carry flag, and the same LSB gets copied into the MSB. Now here rotate left through carry, what happens here is it performs a shift similar operation, but this MSB will be moved into carry flag, and the content of this carry flag will be moved on to the LSB. Now rotate right through carry, here it does the same. Here this LSB will be moved into the carry flag, and this carry flag content gets copied into or will be moved into the MSB. Now rotate instructions, same or similar to the shift. Now we have flag control instructions, okay, which would be performing the operations on the flags. CLC, it will clear the carry flag. STC sets the carry flag, and then CMC complements the carry flag. CLD clears the direction flag. STD sets the direction flag, and then CLI clears the interrupt flag. Now we have a compare instruction. Now it performs the comparison operation between D and S, that is source and destination. But what is that comparison operation internally? It performs subtraction between D and S, that is S is subtracted from the D. Okay, now the result will not be stored in any of these operands, but the result is going to affect these flags. Okay, so if D equal to S, assuming that both destination and source are equal, then ZF will become 0. Okay, and if D is greater than S, then ZF will become 0 and CF will become 0. And if D is less than S, then ZF will become 0 and carry flag will become 1. Why? Because we are subtracting this S from D. And the allowed destination and source operands are register to register, memory to register, register to memory, immediate to register, and immediate to memory, and immediate to accumulator register. Now we have a string operations. Now what do you mean by string? String is nothing but array of bytes or words which are stored inside the memory. Okay, now what do you mean by a byte? As we know that 8 bits and word is nothing but a 16 bit. Okay, so if we are storing a sequence of or a collection of some elements inside the sequential locations of the memory, then those elements will be considered as a string. Okay, now the strings are going to support these instructions: copy, search, store, and then compare. Copy is nothing but move or load, and search is nothing but a scan. Let us see that. So in case of string instructions, source will be considered as DSSI. Okay, so source location will be considered as the location which is pointed by this DS and SI. Okay, so we get, by adding these two registers, we'll get the physical address, and destination will be considered as ES and DI. Okay, now here direction flag. Now here we have to use this direction flag. If this direction flag is 0, if it is initialized to 0, then it means we are using auto increment mode. It means the memory locations or the memory will be incremented by 1 for every operation. Okay, and if you are using or if you are initializing this direction flag to 1, it means we are going with auto decrement mode, where the memory, the address will be decremented by 1 for every operation. Okay, so CLD is used for clearing the direction flag and STD is used for setting the direction flag. Now let us see the instructions which are supported by this move instructions. Okay, So these are called as prefix instructions. Repeat E and repeat 0, and repeat non-equal and then repeat non-zero. Okay, prefix instructions. These instructions should only be used with these instructions, as you can see here. So repeat should be only used with move s and store s. Okay, so here this repeat instruction would be performing or would be executing these instructions until Cx becomes 0. Okay, and repeat equals and repeat z should be used only with compare s and then scan s. Okay, s is nothing but here string. Okay, and it repeats these instructions until Cx is not equal to 0 and Zf is equals to 1. Okay, if any of the condition fails, then it will not execute these instructions. Okay, and this instruction will be executing this instruction until Cx is again not equal to 0 and Zf should be 0. Now let us see those string instructions. Now here the first instruction is move s. Now move is, as we have seen, move on two operands. Now here this move is performed on two strings. Okay, that is between source and destination. As we know what is source here, that is ds plus si, and destination will be considered as es plus di. Now whenever this instruction is executed, then it copies the content which is pointed by ds plus si into es plus di. Okay, now after this copying operation, now it increments or decrements this si and di by 1 or 2. Now here increment or decrement depends on direction flag, and 1 or 2 depends on whether you are using this move sb format or as sw format. Sb is nothing but byte wise, sw is nothing but word wise. Okay, and compare as, which performs, now actually we have seen what is this comparison operation, which performs a subtraction between the destination and a source. Now here it does the same. Okay, that is subtraction between the destination and the source, and the result will not be stored inside this or inside the source operand. Okay, now after performing this comparison operation, it decrements or increments this si and di by 1 or 2. Again, this depends on the direction flag as well as on this instruction format. Okay, and the result would not be stored in either of these memory locations, but it would be affecting the flags. Now we have scanf, which is mainly used for searching an element. Okay, now here the search element must be stored inside the AX register. Now what happens here is, whenever this instruction is executed, now the content which is pointed by the destination, okay, will be subtracted from the AX register. Okay, after that di will be incremented or decremented by 1 or 2. And we have load s, which is going to load the data from the source to the register. Okay, source is nothing but the location which is pointed by ds and si. The data will be loaded into AX or AL, and this si gets incremented by 1 or 2 or decremented by 1 or 2. STOS, which is nothing but store string. Okay, now here the content of AL or AX will be copied into the destination, which is nothing but ES plus DI. Again it is similar, plus or minus 1 or 2 will be added to this DI. Now we have branch instructions. Now these branch instructions are again of 5 types, as you can see here: conditional jumps, unconditional jumps, iterations, call instructions, and then a return instruction. Why do we use what is this branch instruction? Branch instructions are mainly used for transferring the control from one place to the other place, or from one location to the other location. Okay, now let us see how to use these branch instructions. Now before that, let us see what is this subroutine. Okay, subroutine is a program which performs a task. Okay, now how do we call a subroutine? Subroutine or function or a routine, all are same. Okay, will be used for performing a specific task. Now how do we call a subroutine? So subroutine is called by using an instruction. So whenever the subroutine is called, then the control will be transferred to this first instruction of the subroutine, and then it executes this subroutine. And after executing the subroutine, now after executing completely the subroutine, now the control will again be transferred to the main program, where it is going to start the execution or resume the execution of the main program. Okay, now the same thing happens here. As we have called the subroutine A, So here first instruction as well as all the instructions inside this subroutine A will be executed, and after executing one last instruction, this control will be transferred to the next instruction in the main. Okay, from where it has to start, the same location. Okay, from where it has to start. Now what is a subroutine? It's a program which is used for implementing a task. Now how do we call a subroutine from the main program? So by using one instruction, that is a call instruction, we call the subroutine, or we call the function. Okay, now what happens whenever a subroutine is called? Now initially the content of CS and IP will be loaded onto the stack, and then the control will be transferred to the subroutine. Now here, after completely executing the subroutine, now the control should be returned back to the main. So for that we will be using one more instruction, that is RET instruction, which returns the control from the subroutine to the main program. Okay, and while returning it again, retrieves the data from the stack, and that is stored inside this CS and IP. Now that address is called as return address. Okay, as you can see some examples, call 1234. Now it will transfer the control to this 1234 location. Call BX, it will transfer the control to the location under this BX. Okay, it means BX will be holding some value. Now that will be treated as an address. Now call instruction, which is a subroutine call. So call and operand. Okay, now the control will be transferred to the specified operand. Now here the operand might be near procedure, far procedure, within a segment, or within the segments. Okay, it means intra segment. Intra segment is near proc, inter segment is far proc, and then memory pointer, that is 16-bit address, and register pointer, which is again a 16-bit address, and then memory pointer 32-bit address. Now return, which is mainly used for transferring the control from the function or subroutine to the main program. Okay, now here the operand might be none. Directly we can write RET, or else we can also specify a 16-bit displacement. Now loop instruction, these instructions are mainly used for repeating a set of instructions, or executing a set of instructions repeatedly until the condition is satisfied. Okay, let us see what are those loop instructions. So loop and a label. Now this instruction will be executing a set of instructions under this loop instruction until the CX becomes 0. Okay, so here CX gets decremented by 1 for every loop instruction, or for every execution of the loop, CX gets decremented by 1. Now loop E or loop Z. Now set of instructions are executed until CX becomes 0, along with ZF should be 1 always. Okay, and then a loop NE or loop NZ. Now here again the same thing. It will execute set of instructions until CX becomes 0 and ZF should be 0 every time. Now let us see unconditional jump instructions. So without executing or without checking any condition, we can transfer the control from one location to the other location. As you can see here, without checking any condition, jump, we are transferring the control to a memory location, okay, which is specified as AE. Okay, so that is what is called as unconditional jump. Okay, jump and a operand. So unconditional jump can be of near jump or else a far jump. Near jump is nothing but intra segment, that is within the segment, and if you want to transfer the control between one code segment to the other code segment, or from one segment to the other segment, then you have to use this inter segment jump. Okay, so is limited to the address within the current segment. It is achieved by modifying value in IP, and permits jumps from one code segment to another. It is achieved by modifying CS and IP. Now conditional jump, it will check one particular condition here, and then if that condition is true, then only the control will be transferred to the specific location. If condition is false, then the next instruction after this conditional jump will be executed. Okay, now here the mnemonic would be JCC and meaning is conditional jump. Format is, that is syntax, the jump instruction along with the operand, and then operation, if condition is true, jumps to the address specified by the operand, otherwise the next instruction is executed. So none of the flags are affected. Let us see some of the instructions which comes under these conditional jumps. Jump if above. So here it checks these two flags, that is CF and ZF flag, both should be 0. and jump if below or jump if above or equal, and then jump if below or equal, JC, jump if carry, and JC exit, which is nothing but jump if CX is 0. Okay, so jump if equal and then jump if greater. So these all instructions will be performing the condition checking on these flags. Okay, if those conditions are satisfied, then only transfer the control to the specified location. Okay, now jumps based on some single flag. Jump if 0, so if 0 flag is 1, then only it transfers the control. Jump if non-zero, if 0 flag is 0, then it jumps to the location. Jump if sign flag, jump if no sign, jump if carry, jump if no carry, jump if parity. If there is a parity, that is if parity bit is set to 1, then the control will be transferred to the specific location. And jump if no parity, again the same thing. Now jump if 0, jump if equal also mean same. So both are same. And jump if non-zero and jump if non-equal are again same. Jump if carry and jump if borrow is again same. And jump if no carry and jump if above or equal, and J and B, all these are same. Okay, as you can see, some of these same instructions or instructions which will be performing the similar kind of operation. Now we have the last kind of instructions, that is machine control instructions. Now if this halt instruction is executed, then the processor enters into an idle state which will not do anything. It will not do anything until interrupt signal is given through INTR pin, or else interrupt signal is given through NMI pin, or else a reset put. Okay, so when this instruction is executed, then the processor will be entering into the halt state, and it will come out of this halt state only through the hardware interrupt signal, that is through INTR, or else through NMI, or else through reset input. And no operation is the instruction which will make or which does not do any operation until 3 clock cycles. And wait instruction, now the CPU will do nothing, that is it will not do anything. Okay, and it will come out of this wait when a test pin of 8086 becomes low or an interrupt signal is received on INTR or NMI. Then we have a last instruction, that is lock, under this machine control instruction. Now it is mainly used in case of a multi-processor communication if one processor is using the system bus. Now while using the system bus, it wants to avoid the other processor to use the system bus at the same time, then it would be using this lock instruction. It would lock the system bus to the specific master until the transaction completes. Okay, thank you.